After completely overhauling many of our operating systems and procedures, Keystone Wilds remains in a phase of adjustment. Thankfully for our staff, and especially our species on site, things do seem to be settling into place. Slowly but steadily, we're starting to create a new normal. Our revamped veterinary system was especially put to the test after the zoo's largest expansion to date, and things have been exceedingly stressful for our staff. Wanting to keep our valued team members happy, we've decided to begin construction on a brand new staff facility located in the heart of the safari. Not only will this significantly cut down on travel distance in between stations on shift, but it will also be massively beneficial for the species on the reserve, as they're going to be able to receive more frequent check-ins from the team. Keystone Wilds, and especially Keystone Park before it, would be nothing without our animals, of course, but what's less obvious is that we'd be nothing without the people who care for them and run our facilities. To have a successful zoo, staff and animals must go hand in paw. It's up to management to take care of the staff, who in turn take care of the species who call the zoo home. It surely does take everybody, including the animals, for this project to succeed. Luckily, everybody is seemingly on board with the mission, with some minor pushback from a few stubborn members of the family. While things at Keystone Wilds are going quite well for the time being, Keystone Park unfortunately is running into some problems. The zoo is getting slightly repetitive with local guests, as it hasn't seen a major update since construction of Keystone Wilds began. Granted, the construction is no secret, and people can even watch the Keystone Wilds animals prior to the zoo opening. However, it isn't the same as being on site physically in person. Attendance at Keystone Park unfortunately has seen a steady decrease over the past few months, and something is needed to bring a spark back into the community that started this journey off. We may just have to pay a visit to the original vision in the very near future to inject some much needed energy into the people who made this all possible. Back at Keystone Wilds, we're eagerly awaiting updates on our Chinese pangolin's pregnancy. She's officially in the second trimester now, and things so far have gone according to plan. The Chinese pangolin is a critically endangered species, and notoriously difficult to breed in captivity. This birth not only means a lot to our dedicated staff, but it means even more to the species' survival overall. On the topic of conservation, our trio of female Asian small-clawed otters have finally found a new friend. This is another vulnerable species, and we'd like to do a part in restoring their wild population as well. Thanks to our friends at Stone Ridge Zoo, we were able to find a male of the species and relocate him into Keystone Wilds. In exchange, we're going to be sending over our male Chinese pangolin. His job at Keystone Wilds has been completed, and now we can help further conservation efforts at Stone Ridge. We'll gladly keep you updated on his progress, but rest assured he's in trusted hands. Our new male Asian small-clawed otter has settled into Keystone Wilds remarkably well, quickly proving himself to be a curious and social addition to the group. After a few cautious introductions, he began to bond with his new female companions, sharing food, vocalizing, and even engaging in playful chases through the shallows. It's been heartwarming to watch him grow more and more confident each and every day, exploring every inch of his new habitat and learning the rhythms of his new family. His playful energy has brought a spark into Otter Grotto, and it's clear that he's found a new place among the family of Keystone Wilds. In other news, more strange behavior has been observed by our staff on our Gibbon enclosure, and after a routine medical examination, they were deemed to be perfectly healthy. We're currently in contact with a primate specialist, and hopefully she's going to be able to do a thorough investigation of our apes and monkeys alike, as seemingly they're the only species on site having issues at the moment. The current hypothesis among staff is that the Gibbon are growing stressed over the lack of motion in front of their habitat. In other words, they want the zoo to open just as much as we do. All species of gibbon are classified as lesser apes, and they're actually among the only species on planet Earth to get this very distinct title. Despite not being as intelligent as the great apes, which include effectively all other apes, including man, they're still highly intelligent when directly compared to the rest of the animal kingdom. Intelligent species need constant enrichment and stimulation. Thankfully, they won't have to wait much longer, as the completion of Africa is the final steps before our doors officially open to the public. Compared to the tame and local species roster at Keystone Park, Keystone Wilds, and especially Africa, venture far more into the exotic territory. Species variety is our secret. We want something that everyone can enjoy. Solitary animals, social animals, carnivores, herbivores, semi-aquatic, and whatever a bongo is. The best part is Baobab Safari, our current and greatest project, isn't even all Africa's going to have to offer, but to see what's next, you're going to have to stick around. Let's just say for now though, there were two distinct reasons why we needed a primate specialist on site. Africa has been a challenging process so far, but development and construction is continuing on at an efficient pace. Major renovations have recently been made to the Mountain Pass Station, the start of Baobab Safari. In case you're new here, Baobab Safari is the crown jewel of not only Africa, but the entire Keystone brand. Everything that we have built was all in preparation for this project. Keystone Wilds and Baobab Safari have one goal: to effectively simulate a real African safari and take guests on a 4x4 ride across every biome the continent has to offer. Along the way, you'll see animals you recognize, animals you've never seen or heard of before, and everything in between. The continent of Africa is among the most biodiverse locations on the planet, which in simple terms means it has a lot of different animals to display. After waiting in line at the Mountain Pass station and getting a sneak peek of what's to come, guests will then board their unique 4x4 safari vehicle, and the estimated 20-minute safari simulation will officially be underway. One of the main goals of the safari is to make it nearly impossible to tell where the habitats begin and end, and many of the animals have the ability to walk straight over the truck's path and to find their own borders within the confines of safety. Throughout the ride, you'll view excellent landscaping, breathtaking waterfalls, and beautiful rock formations, all while keeping your eyes out for the main stars of the show. It'll be nearly impossible to see everybody on a single ride, but rest assured it's well worth the wait. Each tour through the reserve is completely custom and unique, as we aim to simulate life exactly as you'd find it in the wilds. In case you missed the last episode, we added the largest expansion to Baobab Safari yet. An expansion so large, in fact, you could fit the entire rest of Keystone Wilds inside of it and have plenty of room to spare. Welcome to the African savannah, home to 7 distinct species. This is far and away the largest section of the safari and Keystone Wilds in general. This enormous habitat is built around a center watering hole that serves as the lifeblood of the entire ecosystem, drawing animals together just like in the wild. Giraffes tower over the landscapes as zebras, wildebeest, gazelles, and springbok mingle across the open grasslands, all converging near the water's edge in a constantly shifting display of movement and interaction. Off to the side, a discreet but secure barrier separates our African wild dogs, giving them their own territory, still while keeping them visually connected to the rest of the herding species. It creates a fascinating predator-prey dynamic where the tension is always present, yet safely managed. The result is an environment that feels alive, balanced, and natural, a true centerpiece of the safari that captures the raw beauty and complexity of Africa's Great Plains. Meet Janja and her best friend. Both of our African painted dogs took a bit of time to adjust into their new homes, but the pair are now absolutely inseparable. The African wild dog is a highly social species that have a tight-knit family unit. Hopefully one day, Janja and can become one of these families, because unfortunately, just like many other species on the reserve, the African wild dog is also endangered as per the IUCN. Speaking of endangered, many of the species in the African savannah were rescued from a brutal dry season from their native homes in sub-Saharan Africa. Thankfully, our recently revamped and confident veterinary team was up to the challenge, and a challenge it certainly was. With 41 new animals calling the African savannah home, it's been quite a busy month of work for our team. Our new male sable antelope in particular was in terrible shape and severely dehydrated upon reaching our quarantine facility. After days upon days of round-the-clock care, he is finally fully cleared and allowed to join the rest of the herd. Meet Sandy, the sable antelope. All of the species in the African savannah are ungulates. Effectively, this means hoofed mammals, but admittedly this is putting it in very simple terms. Most ungulates have a dominant male who leads the herd, and this is the exact social structure of every single herd on the reserve. Meet River, Tom, Prancer, Honey, and Zoo. All of these males do an excellent job of maintaining order on the plains of the safari, and the animals surprisingly get along quite well, even being tolerant of the massive amount of test drives passing through their homes. In today's episode, we have a very important task at hand as we're building for 3 of the smartest species on the reserve. We're clearly going to have to give this one our all, as intelligent species are significantly harder to please. We've dealt with our fair amount of smart animals in the past, but let's just say this group is going to be an elephant-sized challenge. If you're interested in supporting the ongoing construction and development of Keystone Wilds, we encourage you to join Club Keystone. Members receive early access to videos the second they're completed. You'll also have your name forever on our donor wall as a token of our appreciation. If you enjoyed today's video and the progress we're making here at Keystone Wilds, please consider subscribing. Your support is more than just appreciated, it's essential. By liking the video, leaving a comment, or even sharing with friends, you're helping us grow and reach more and more people who truly care about wildlife conservation. Meet the Mandrill, the second monkey to call Keystone Wilds home and our third primate. With a wild population that's actually unknown, this species is estimated to be listed as vulnerable. This is likely because they're confined to a small subsection of the Congo on the west coast of Africa. To effectively mimic their habitat, we're obviously going to need land requirement, but they need a little bit of climbing as well. Like most primates, they're quite social, however today we're only going to be building for 2 of them. They're both severely injured and need some time to adjust into captivity before we introduce more. The Mandrill is actually the largest monkey on the planet, and like most monkeys, they're exceptionally intelligent. They're going to need a variety of enrichment items to stay entertained. Unfortunately, the African elephant is an endangered species, with an estimated wild population of 415,000. That honestly seems like quite a lot. Their habitat is spread all across the continent, which probably explains their vast population. They need quite a lot of land requirement, but as well as some water. In case you didn't know, elephants are actually capable swimmers. Just like our mandrills, elephants are very social animals. They need a group size of at least 3. As intelligent species, they have quite a wide variety in habitat enrichment items, ranging from waterfalls to mud baths to gyros to snowmen. Their dietary options seem to be just as varied, ranging from hay to fruit. They do share cohabitation with the Hamadryas baboon, a different species of primate found elsewhere in Africa. However, they're not going to be included in today's episode. The last of the intelligent species on this leg of the safari is the greater flamingo, which is least concerned as per the IUCN, with an estimated wild population of 790,000. Numbers-wise, they don't need very much space at all, just some land and water, but I was absolutely shocked to see just how vast their habitat ranges are. Obviously they live on the coasts of Africa, but it looks like they can be found in Spain, France, the Middle East, everywhere. Another common trait among all of the species on this leg of the safari is that they're all highly social animals, the greater flamingo needing 10 members in the flock to be happy. They also breed rather easily in captivity, so expect some hatchlings very soon. Despite being intelligent, their enrichment items are rather limited. However, we are going to be utilizing a forage pool in their habitat, as they're one of the only species that have access to this. It doesn't appear that the greater flamingo has any cohabitation benefits from any other species. Let's get to building. This is going to be a fun one. It's not quite as massive as our 7-species savannah, however the next phase of the safari is on the larger side. Pachyderm Pass will include 4 species, 3 of which are going to be built for today. The 4th will begin the next episode, as it's a bit too large of a habitat to build today alongside our existing plans. The first stop on Pachyderm Pass is going to be the complete opposite of a pachyderm, but equally as intelligent, a primate. The Mandrill, as the Zoopedia mentioned, is the world's largest monkey. One thing that is interesting about the species is that they break the primate stereotype, primarily spending a majority of their time on the forest floor. This means, unlike the Gibbon enclosure or even the white-faced Saki habitat, this build is going to be focusing less on climbing structures and more on providing the Mandrill a large enough area to forage about. Unfortunately, both of our Mandrill are currently in the veterinary center, as they both have had pre-existing complications before entering our facility. Mandrill can be quite aggressive towards one another, especially in breeding season, and the injuries sustained lead us to believe that they both had a previous run-in with larger Mandrills. To start the build, we're first going to need to get the exact right height of the habitat. Keep in mind that when viewing these monkeys, guests are going to be about 3.5 to 4 feet off the ground, since they're always going to be in one of our 4x4 vehicles. This means we want the guest to be slightly looking up at the animals. This way the Mandrill have a degree of privacy, which is important for an intelligent species. By retreating to the back of the habitat, they're effectively going to become invisible and out of the guest's view. After getting the rough dimensions and the height of the habitat exactly right, lining the sides was surprisingly easy. So easy, in fact, that we were actually even able to add some fancy details that typically would be saved for much later in the process. After a basic blend of foliage, the Mandrill habitat now fits perfectly into the surrounding landscape. What we're left with is now a wide open patch of land ready to terraform. Since Mandrill can be aggressive as previously mentioned, we're going to have to add in a small fence. This is going to do nothing to stop the monkeys from actually escaping, rather it's going to stop the guests from infiltrating, and their lawyers from prosecuting. Before we get to the main portion of the habitat, it's very important to further blend the surrounding terrain into the 4x4 track. By using buffalo grass and creosote bush shoved far into the terrain, we're able to accomplish this very easily. Once the perimeter of the habitat was finally complete, the foliage work on top was surprisingly easy. Since this habitat is directly connected to the back of the African savanna, it naturally makes sense to use the exact same foliage palette. This makes things significantly easier, since a lot of the work was already done for us. It always amazes me just how much detail you can capture using 3 plants on repeat. This looks so much better already, but we still have some work to do. Surprisingly, the trickiest part of this habitat to figure out was actually the right trees to use, as this is going to be the primary climbing for the mandrills. I had actually tested the looks of various different climbing equipments, but determined it would ruin guest immersion along what is likely the most important stretch of the safari. All of the mandrill's enrichment items, as a result, are pushed to the back of the habitat. This is likely going to make them among the most challenging animals to spot on the reserve, which suits a species with an unknown population perfectly. Let's see just how easy they are to spot. We just received word from our veterinary team that both mandrill are medically cleared and on the way right now. After spending quite a long time in veterinary care, both of our mandrills were a bit hesitant to enjoy their habitat at first. Eventually, after some time, the male of the duo managed to find some confidence to begin to explore. The lone female was seemingly content with observing for now. As the leader of the troop, it's up to the male mandrill to instill confidence in the rest of the primates. Eventually, his persistence won the day, as after watching her friend explore the habitat, eventually our far more cautious female decided to join in on the fun. It's been incredibly rewarding to see their personalities shine through again, the male's curiosity and playful energy perfectly balanced by the female's gentle, observant nature. Both are settling in well, and it feels like the start of something special in this corner of Keystone Wilds. Like usual, if you have any name suggestions for the Mandrill, feel free to leave them in the comments. We still have plenty of work to do today though, and while our mandrills begin to bond, let's get back to work. If you can't tell from the aerial view, the elephant habitat is up next, and it's the largest habitat in the entire safari for a single species. This doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be overly complicated, and this is for a very good reason. The first step of the process, however, is standard. We need to define the borders. All species of elephants are very limited in their mobility. They're surprisingly quick on land, and even swim rather well, but are extremely vertically challenged. They can't climb much at all, so a simple fence should manage to keep them away just fine. The issue is that elephants are so large and so intelligent, they fully understand that they're capable of destruction. They can simply knock down our standard fences, so we had to think outside of the box on how to contain the pachyderms. Thankfully, we managed to find an ethical solution to our dilemma. Farmers in Africa have realized that elephants are absolutely petrified of bees, so much so that even the sound of their buzzing can keep away an entire herd. Knowing this, we can simulate a small farm fit with bee boxes and sound effects to trick the elephants into thinking that they shouldn't come near here. By adding in these bee nests I found in the console workshop and increments around the perimeter, we should have a solid elephant-proof plan. To further sell the illusion, I added a variety of wildflowers all around the bee boxes. All of the buzzing, of course, is strictly special effects. Just don't tell the elephants. Adding to the barrier, we're also going to be giving the safari riders a stunning view of their pool. Since as for the back and the sides of the habitat, a simple tree line we don't have to worry about aquatic escape. It's going to contain the pachyderms as the final effective barrier. Since it's actually going to be the same body of water, I decided to connect up the Flamingo habitat now. If we can get the water to work right now, this should save us a lot of headache later on. So far the barrier's looking pretty secure, but as you can probably see we have a rather exposed weak spot. The rest of the entire habitat, matter of fact. As for the back and the sides, a simple tree line with a heavy-duty fence hidden within is going to contain the pachyderms incredibly effectively. Just like we accomplished with our bee special effects, I want a large degree of environmental storytelling to be present in this habitat, and we can tie this into some of the elephant's natural wild behaviors. Rock formations in elephant territory are often scratched and marked up by bull male tusks. Why they do this is actually unknown, but it's especially common among mud walls. To simulate these scratch marks, we're going to first build up a terrain formation for the safari vehicles to drive through. After lining the walls with a more reddish-brown rock palette to simulate the mud walls, we then merged some snow rocks into the formation, as the white color contrast was able to effectively resemble the scratch marks on the material. We'll certainly come in here with some more foliage later, but as of right now I'm really liking the effect the snow rocks are giving off in the mud. Environmental storytelling doesn't have to be over the top like this either. It can be as simple as some fallen trees before the habitat. By cutting off the sightline to the elephant enclosure, the fallen trees provide some light foreshadowing since elephants are among the only species on the savannah capable of this destruction. Species like giraffes have evolved specifically to graze at the tops of the acacia trees littered throughout their home. An elephant will simply knock them down to eat them. Thankfully, the exterior of the habitat is now 100% complete. Now we just have this large landmass in the middle to work with. We did an excellent job of blending the foliage into the terrain into the fence, so all we have to do now is extend that to the rest of the habitat and vary up the colors. After giving the grounds a very sandy makeover, adding in the rest of the detail was beyond standard. We started with a wide variety of enrichment items to give the elephants plenty of mental stimulation, and after that we added over 1,000 pieces of buffalo grass and nearly over 100 faux rocks. When detailing a habitat on this scale, especially for a species that doesn't do well with crazy terrain, you have to go with a less is more approach. It truly is amazing just how much detail you can pack into a habitat by using the same pieces on repeat and mixing up the elevation. At the end of the day though, it doesn't matter what we think. Let's bring in a species equally as intelligent and find their opinion. Upon entering their new home for the very first time, the herd of 4 elephants moved slowly and methodically about. This is absolutely intentional behavior. A species this large and this intelligent doesn't simply waste energy for no reason. Every step they took was being mentally recorded and calculated. Their wisdom truly is unmatched in the animal kingdom. An elephant's mastery of their territory can legitimately rival that of man. Their social behavior was immediately noticed as well. The herd commonly was seen moving as one unit. This is a common defense tactic in the wild, as taking on one elephant is a challenge on its own right, but multiple? Good luck, Simba. Their vocalizations are truly a treat to listen to, as it's clearly evident they're actually communicating with one another. They likely communicated to avoid the potential bees near the tracks as well, as our strategy worked flawlessly, and the elephants never once showed even signs of curiosity. This truly was a special moment in Keystone Wilds history, as the elephants have been on our logo since day one. To see them finally on site and in our care was a surreal moment for all of the staff to experience, and I want to take a second to truly thank you at home for helping us get to this moment. It's such an honor and an absolute privilege to be in this position, and with Planet Zoo 2 being confirmed just a few days ago at the time of recording, we still have years of content to come. Just as our elephants have to adjust to their new routine, so do to our keepers, and satisfying an elephant's appetite is far easier said than done. We still have one more habitat to build today, and it's certainly the smallest of the bunch, especially compared to what we just accomplished. Let's see how much detail we can cram into a tiny space. I'd wager a lot knowing Keystone Wilds. If you'll recall, we lined the perimeter of the habitat with water during the construction of the elephant's pool. This makes things significantly easier on us now, as we don't have to drain it. The flamingo habitat is going to act as a transitional habitat in between what we've built today and what's to come, and what's to come is significantly more arid. This means we can really up the lush factor and aquatic aspects of this small enclosure to make the transition hit more of a contrast. The habitat entirely centers around the flamingo's forage feeder, with the birds being able to walk through the shallows if they so choose. A small fence will keep them from interacting with guests, but unlike our other two species, even in a worst-case scenario, I doubt they could do much damage. This habitat went together shockingly fast. It only took 18 minutes of real time, matter of fact, but I'm quite happy with the results. It's amazing how a bunch of reused rock formations can make a habitat truly stand out and look unique among the rest of the safari. As long as we can provide some shrimp and algae, I have a feeling the new flock of flamingos are going to enjoy it as well. Like most avians, it didn't take much time at all for the flamingo flock to adjust into life in captivity. We're going to have to catch up with them next week though, as we just received word that our keeper is having trouble feeding the elephants for the very first time, so I have some business to attend to. Kingpin out. See you next week.